Yo, back with some basics. That's right. You gotta bring in the milk before you bring the buffet. You gotta have the gradual step by step understanding to then be able to go into a further complexity. So, this may seem like a recap, yet I'm bringing this in a different way, and there's a bit of an exercise for you to consciously do. So, please take away the distraction. Move away from your cell phones, unless you're watching it on your cell phone. What else? What else? What else? Yes, no video distractions in the back. No notification, no chat rooms. You really kind of want to sit down with this and not get distracted because, well, you do care about your life, right? Of course you do. It's just kind of noticing how distractions can kind of get you out of focus and not necessarily have you integrate a very logical process of understanding. You'll see. Sit down comfortably, all right? And I want you all to kind of understand logically that when you were born, you did not come with words, definitions, or meanings. So you didn't have any emotional attachment to that. That's logical. Ain't no guru baby yet. Ain't no baby born with the English language or French language or Spanish or any language. All right? You pick that up from your environment. Simple, logical, right? That's you and that's practically everyone else on this planet. Born without words, any definition or any meanings, okay? Those of you who kind of want to say past life, yo, this is milk. We're not going into the buffet and we're not going into the whole complexity, all right? Let's not dive into that now. Standard introduction. You were not born with any kind of concept or any kind of words. If you were to watch this video at that age, just straight out the womb, you would not understand anything that would be said. All right? Even if I go poppity pop pop pop, that would just be funny sounds. Okay? It's logical, completely logical. Okay? I want you guys to anchor that. You were not born with any of this. You could even try to rewatch the first couple of minutes and just kind of go, okay, as a baby, how would I see this? How do words kind of just fly through my head or fly over my head? You know? That's simple. You got that anchored, right? Now, then you were introduced to concepts, ideas. And many of those had you feeling bad. Because other people told you so. Different kind of connections were made with words, definitions, and meanings. Some of them, / most of them, made you feel bad. Because someone else told you to. Okay? All that data, it's what's kind of trapping you. Because there's also another logical understanding to get. Is that all that data always changes and evolves. Okay? Whether it's 2 to 5, 5 to 10 years, it always changes and evolves. One example? Remember church. Best example for me. Earlier on, women weren't allowed. They were considered second-class citizens. Way early on. Witch-burning trials. Then later on, you know, the Windows 95 of church came up. Women were accepted. But not ethnicities. They are heathens. Because apparently the unconditionally loving God has exceptions. Makes no sense. You know? Couple of years after, okay, we'll accept ethnicities. They're fine. They're in the book. So that was like Windows 98 of church. But not the gays. No gays. No lesbians. Not accepted. Feel bad for that. Heathens. Because the unconditionally loving God has exceptions. Uh, you see, I'm adding two kinds of logic here. Sorry. There's the illogical nature of saying unconditionally loving God with exceptions. Can you understand how that doesn't make sense in the same sentence? Or as a practice? Doesn't make much sense, but okay. Then it got accepted. So then we get to Windows 2000. But no trends. Can you see how that kept changing every fucking year? But the base understanding, the base foundation of most / all religion is unconditionally loving God, spiritual energy, universe, source, whatever you want to call it, right? No dogmas. Unconditionally loving. So, bit of a wrap up in this aspect of illogical natures. Yet, can you see how that data just keeps changing? Can you? But at the end of the day, you weren't born with that. So why are you feeling bad for this data that is continuously changing, with people's mind kind of waking up? Because again, unconditionally loving, just like a baby. You ain't seen no evil babies. Oh, some people want to argue about the baby crying. Hey, if you don't necessarily have words to express how you're feeling, or you're not taught that, oh, 1 month in, how would you express yourself? Bit of logic there, right? Ain't no evil baby. That's for those who want to argue for the limitation. It does happen. There is social programming when it comes to that. But can you get this? You were not logically born with meanings, definitions, and words. Thus, you did not have any emotional ties or reaction to any of it. But along the way, you were taught to do so. You were taught limited constructs, which then, ironically, keep expanding and evolving. Is it simple? Is it simple enough for you to get this? Not to be too tied with this data. It's not to say fuck it all. Again, non-duality. It is and it isn't. As a baby, it isn't. And that's how we're all born. And that's our limitless potential of perception, curiosity, openness, discovery. But then you're being sent into boxes of data, thinking that it is the almighty truth, even though there's some illogical processing to it. And you see it's always evolving, so why stay tied to that? Hey, you want another good example? Again, you weren't born with any of this, but you remember when you were taught about Santa Claus. How did that change your perception of reality? Right? Thought this person would come down a chimney. You saw the movies, you saw the advertisements, you saw the cartoons, you saw the images, right? Then at one point, you grew up. How did that change your perception of reality then? How did that change your emotional reaction to that concept? See, this is all basically to logically understand, going from point zero, how your perception is formed by exterior information. But then how it plays with you emotionally. You're still in control when you know and when you logically understand this. But if you're not gonna bother to take 10, 20, or 30 minutes to sit down and ponder this, and if you're gonna go right back to Netflix or any kind of media, you're gonna get a different kind of programming. Oh, for fuck's sake.
3, 8, 9.
This is why I have to... I'm keeping that in. I'm keeping that in because I need to know. I need to remember just to turn off my turn off all reception, turn off all sounds whenever I make a video. This is my reminder and my funny reaction to it. Fuck's sake. Sometimes you want to laugh about it all. Early on, there was a bot caller that kind of called up, and I was like, "Yeah, another one, another bot from China." Leaves a voice message, and I'm like, "I don't get this, you bots. Why?" It happens. Bots caller. It's either that, or some of you may have had bot callers from Service Canada going, "Your social insurance credit number is now being suspiciously looked into by the government of Canada. Please call this number because that's totally not suspicious." Fun shit that happens in life. Hey, you gotta roll with the punches, right? Still, logically understanding how your perception is formed, created, and affects your emotions. That is key. And frankly, that also influences your reactions. I mean, if I still had an old perspective, I would have been so mad at the person. I'm like, wait a second. I'm the one who should just shut off the reception. Take out the freaking SIM card. Nah, just turn off notifications. Hey, I didn't expect that. But hey, note taken. Still, when you logically conceive and perceive, okay, of how your perception is created and how it changed and how it affected your mood, but also understanding, one, you didn't consciously choose it all the time, and then two, you weren't born with it. And then three, you see that granular data that just kind of plays with your emotion and your perception changes every 2, 5, 10 years. You don't kind of stay so attached to it. You allow yourself to kind of, you could say, mix and match. Again, non-duality. It is there, but it's not. You see the problematic aspects that can come up from being too hooked onto it. You could even go back to history. It's that simple. Hell, you've seen the swing from extreme left to extreme right, and you see how silly people fight over politics and their political parties. It's just like hockey and sports team. It affects their moods, and you see how they treat each other based off that. But again, unconditionally loving God. Same planet, same species. Right? It's all logical. But if you go back to binge watching your Netflix or your TV shows or your media, you'll just kind of run the same stereotype patterns. And it's not to say that this is bad. It's not to say to completely cut it off. It's just to kind of tell you, you might as well get a priority on your cautious understanding of yourself, cautious understanding of your psychological aspect. Oh, cautious understanding of, I don't know, the nature of reality. Much? You know, wouldn't that be a priority? It's not to force yourself. It's just to consciously know. And this, you see the fun of non-duality? It's not to force yourself. But it's still having that as the main priority. Because you're in control with all this. Even though people with interest will tell you otherwise. Happens. Hey, maybe they don't know better. Maybe they don't look at the multiple resources and material out there. Maybe they don't even try the exercises. That's why I kind of told you, take that moment, take that 5, 10 to 20 or 30 minutes just to consciously get that. And whenever an emotion would kind of pop up, remember, weren't born with it. So, where did you pick it up? Don't blame the other person and don't blame yourself. Again, the blame game just makes everything goes to shit. Because it's pointless. Bottomless hole. Because they didn't know what they didn't know. And you didn't know what you didn't know. So the blame game is garbage. That was always a waste of time. Just figure out, when was that first placed in your perception? And just take it out. You weren't born with it. Practice this exercise over and over again. Remember the church version 2.0, 3.0, and remember how you felt about Santa Claus. Remember how you felt about political parties when you didn't know any kind of words or definitions. And then after. See? You can consciously, logically get this. This is all logical. You just need to take the time. But you're the only one who can take the time. I could just spout out for 5 more hours about this. Yet, if you're not going to take the time to do the exercise, well, that's your game. And frankly, you kind of want to ask yourself, why not? Again, you weren't born with that. So ask yourself, okay, what's holding me back from not taking the time? And then ask yourself a more pertinent question right next to it. What would make it easier for me to take the time to deeply think about this? Would it be some kind of music without phone notifications? Would it be some kind of candle? Would it be incense? Would it be a certain kind of light, a certain kind of mood? Would it be a different kind of comfortable position? Ask yourself. You're the one that's going to figure out what is more in tune, more awesome flavor for you. I can fucking read your mind, and I can't read the context and granular context of your preferences. No one else will be able to do that but you. So, go. Have fun, take that time, and you got this. It's just taking the time to logically get this, alright? It's all logical. It's all in there. So take that time, because no one else can do it for you. It's not no one else will do it for you. It's no one else can. We ain't mind readers. Yeah. Who knows? Alright. Baby steps again. But once you get this, you've got a much easier door to non-duality. You're less attached to that granular data, which, again, always changes and evolves. And at that point, you're not emotionally tied to it. Because you saw how when that data changes or gets manipulated one side or the other, it's so easy to get wrapped up into this. So easy to get wrapped up in an idea of identity, which you weren't born with. So, simple logic. You got this. Take that time, all right? Practice this. Maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, okay? Back and forth, but spend more time with that, all right? And don't go off binge watching yet. Balance, okay? You got this.